Today's podcast is sponsored by Field Agent Canada. If I'm online trying to figure out what to buy, I really like the products that I'm looking at to not only have a good number of reviews to help me make my decision, but I really wish they would be current.
Listen, it's really hard to do that. As a marketer that has worked with a bunch of brands, we're always asking for people to leave reviews, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Then they should be using Field Agent to get reviews on those items. It's inexpensive, it's fast, and Field Agent can do all the work to make sure your online items have enough reviews, and then new reviews will be added each month.
Can Field Agent reviews be placed on items on my brand website as well as with the retailer?
Come on, Phil. Of course they can. You know they can. You just need to supply a list of products and where you want the reviews to be posted. Jeff and his team take care of the rest and get those reviews up and running.
I have to say, the guys at Field Agent, they do love working with companies of all sizes, big and small. So you're going to get great service. And then, if you need 100 reviews or you need 1,000 reviews, 10,000 reviews, these guys can manage that. If you need online reviews, you need Field Agent.
www.fieldagentcanada.com. Hey, welcome to This Commerce Life, an unscripted podcast that focuses on the stories behind small and independent Canadian retail and Canadian CPG.
What we try and do is deliver or pull out the story of our guests and give them to you. The good, the bad, the ugly of retail and CPG in Canada. We're filling a need because we think that retail is hard on the best of days, but it's also a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up and make your living.
We also think that the industry, nor the people that inadvertently find themselves in the industry, really understand the industry at all. They don't really understand what goes on behind the scenes.
So listen to us, Phil and Kenny. We'll unravel it for you. We'll give you the story. We'll give you the story behind the story. I think so. Somewhere. Can't quite place where, but where.
Somewhere far away. Way over on the other side of the country.
Many different time zones away. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, great to see you guys.
Yeah, you too. You too. How are things?
You too.
Things are great. I have to tell you this story. So I was checking your content out a couple weeks ago on your YouTube channel, and I went to watch the little segment with, I forget the name of the government agency, but they do procurement for like food and beverage stuff. And so I click on that one and the pre-roll ad pops up, and it's an ad for an all natural penis growth remedy, which I didn't think ads like that got served up on YouTube, but I mean, hey, whatever. It's so I found out quickly how they got around it, and it was the most hilarious thing. So of course there's this attractive woman staring at, well, actually just above the camera, reading this teleprompter, and she says, you won't believe how big your pee is after taking this supplement, like using the word pee instead of penis. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the message they want to convey, and kept going in with it. Like, she might even tell your friends how big your pee is. And I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible.
That was before our YouTube ad?
Yes.
What?
So, of course, obviously I watched the whole thing, so you'd get the full ad revenue from that. I didn't see any affiliate link though, so I wasn't confident making the purchase, but
that's hilarious.
That's hilarious. But, well, yeah, I guess.
Why would we be matched with that though?
I don't know. I wish that we would get, because we're not monetized on YouTube yet, so we don't even get.
Oh, that's too bad. You're missing out.
We appreciate you watching it, but we don't actually get.
Penis growth hormones are big business, gentlemen. You are missing out on some cash flow here.
We are
it's sort of linked to government procurement as well.
Somehow. Yeah, I mean, they buy all sorts of things. They said that in the segment.
Well, apparently they do.
It is true. Yeah, it is true.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah. That one actually was surprisingly, I mean, there's no offense meant here, but it was surprisingly enlightening for me, doing that interview with them, because I actually learned a whole chunk of things I really didn't know before.
Wait, you just said no offense meant here. You meant to yourself? Because it was enlightening to you? That you're being kind to yourself.
No, I meant to the government folks, right? Because sometimes
I understand. Okay,
government
yeah.
things
I
are.
was trying to figure out what he was saying too. I'm thinking, who are you trying not to? Who?
Yeah, I didn't. I started and I thought I'm gonna suggest that they're boring or that I can't learn things from the government, but I didn't mean that. So
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Glad we got that cleared up. We're all good now.
Yeah, because well, that's an
And
aha.
this podcast just got shut down. Brrr.
All good.
Man.
So now that I've completely derailed the beginning of your episode here, pleasure to meet you. Happy to chat. What would you like to talk about?
No, look. Listen, this is kind of how we start. Yours is actually that's a pretty interesting open. Listen, for the audience, we have Brody Hanson on. He's the CEO of Workwater, and it's kind of cool because we met. We actually, I had that moment because I was thinking about this podcast this morning, and I actually now remember meeting you as HFA. I didn't the last time we talked, right? Because last time we talked, I was like, "What? We met you?" And you're like, "Yeah, we were in the middle of the floor." And then I actually had that moment. I remember meeting you now, but we got reacquainted with Brody when we were out at Food and Beverage Atlantic, and then Brody and I did, I thought, a pretty fun panel together. Probably not like any panel we'd done before. So, but we did a pretty fun panel together. So
it was the best panel of the session. Like I heard that from at least my mother. So yeah, best for sure. Yeah.
Hey, your mother doesn't lie. So there you go.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
100% true that.
Yeah. Moms don't have
unbiased opinion.
Yeah. No. So we're glad you're here. We just wanted you on. We kind of had fun talking to you and wanted to kind of get your story out. So we'd love it if you told us a little bit about you, how you got to, anywhere you want to start in your journey, and then tell us about you and then how you got here, and we'll get into Workwater for sure. So kind of like the next 40-45 minutes is yours, sir. And we will definitely laugh a little, I think, and ask you questions.
If I have 45 minutes free, I'm taking a nap. So just maybe this would be some ASMR podcast for people.
Maybe we could just do that. Some snoring, and that's okay.
I'm just having my coffee. I'm going to listen to the two of you and start waking up slowly here.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you nodding off, Kenny, and I'll just do and then we'll get you right back.
I'll be back. I'm here.
Yeah. No, happy to share. So my background is nothing to do with food and beverage. So I'm an engineer, master's in civil engineering, undergrad in computer engineering, and then I went on to do an MBA. So all that to say, I'm now schlepping energy drinks. So I'll connect the dots a little bit on that one. So coming out of my first master's, got hired on to be an engineering consultant. So I worked in Toronto for about 5 years doing systems engineering, all kinds of boring stuff. And then decided the big city and the traffic wasn't for me. So I'm originally from New Brunswick in Atlantic Canada. So wife and I decided to move back after that 5-year stint. So it was a good visit. And then I took a job here, started doing my MBA, and then been doing management consulting ever since, mainly in the electric utility sector. So worked with clients across the country in a few parts of the world. And how that arrives at energy drinks is, in my mid-30s, I was a caffeine consumer, but not coffee drinker. So I found coffee to be a little too hard on my stomach. I wanted the cold beverage. And at the time, it was just, sugar-free Red Bull, sugar-free Monster, Rockstar. And so that's what I was drinking. And my wife kindly sends me this article linked to a story of someone my age who 2 energy drink a day consumer who had a heart attack linked to his energy drink consumption. I don't know if she was threatening me or if this was actual, pay attention to this stuff, but caused me to take a deeper dive into what's inside. And of course, what you kind of gloss over is, yes, there's synthetic ingredients. Yes, there's lots of sugar or artificial sweeteners. But the biggest thing that I found was the multiple stimulants. So it's never just caffeine. It's also taurine and ginseng and guarana and yerba mate. And a lot of them tout it as this benefit of having a proprietary energy blend. And the whole I mean, everything about them is to like maximize and get you as jacked up as possible. And that's not me. I'm like trying to stay awake during a business meeting or, help a client or, not just the inside of the can was problematic, but, I've got this can like sitting on my desk when I'm trying to have a serious conversation and there's, flaming skulls shooting like fireworks out of the sides of them, like while they're eating little babies. I don't know. But like the aesthetics of the cans were not professional. So I thought, okay, if what I want, the classic, what I want doesn't exist, so I need to go try to make it. Now, this was like early 2019 when I first embarked on this journey of figuring it out. And what that looked like was me going to Amazon, ordering a pound of caffeine off the internet, some lemon flavorings, some sweeteners and sugars. And I'll never forget, I think I had to pick it up from like the common lock box, and I throw this pound of caffeine like on the dash, and I've got this pound of white powder sitting on the like dash of my car, and then I'm like, okay, I don't live in the States, this is probably okay, but I shouldn't be driving around with a pound of white powder on the dash of my car. So I got home safely and just started formulating some stuff in my kitchen. I started bringing it into work with me. Like this was my like new drink. And of course, you'd start talking to other people about this and think, oh, geez, yeah, that would be great to have a like, better alternative to a Red Bull or a Monster. And so it took me about a year to find a place to make the first version. First version, nothing like what it is right now. It was in a 500 milliliter plastic bottle, produced with a private label water bottling co-packer in Florida. Here I'm thinking I've smartly found a place in Florida where I can expense business trips to take the kids to Disney, right? Like amazing. Yay me. So over the course of that 2020 year, we made the first kind of like initial production run, like 5 pallets, not a big run, but enough that I could demonstrate if this thing's going to work or not. And of course, this is 2020. So COVID hits, which is interesting. Now I had planned to start direct to consumer anyway. I had no idea about the whole industry that I was about to embark into in this next 4 years and didn't really care to, because I'm like, if I just can ship it, the price of functional beverages, like, they're $3-4 a can. I'm right now buying them at the corner store for 2 for $5, usually 4 at a time. So I'm crunching the numbers. Like if I can ship that to somebody's door for those same like amounts and still make a margin, like this sounds great.
Yeah.
And it worked really well. So that first few months of like initial sales, like amazing. It like the Facebook ads were working. We were, shipping 24 packs. Really great. Got into the local stores, just ones I would drive up to and drop the case off and say, hey, this is free. If you sell it through, like, here's the price sheet, call me, sort of thing. What I now know is a free fill. There you go. Now I know the lingo. And so yeah, did that for like a few months. Ended up pitching or getting selected to go pitch on Dragon's Den in 2020 with this original version of the product.
Yeah.
So I had to. So this was filming in August of 2020. Mm-hmm. Around this time, I start seeing what I now know are food quality, food safety related things cropping up in the product. So this is made at a facility that, I don't really know much about. It's in the US. The borders are locked down. So I had planned to go visit this facility, a few months prior, but couldn't go visit them. And anyway, the shelf life that we had like a year or something shelf life on the product. And the product started to go bad at like 3 months. So like it arrives at my door, I'm like selling it, I'm shipping it. And then I see like it starts to like expire. Now there's so few ingredients in it at all that like it was never really a food safety concern, but like it would kind of taste off and like you'd see the little like white filament things in there, which I later learned were like, like water mold, like that's how it manifests itself. And so this is starting to creep up like as I'm approaching the date to go pitch on Dragon's Den. So I'm like, okay, what do I do here? So I call the facility. We're like, okay, let's like, this has been a problem. Like we added in a UV light into the process. So like I bought a UV light to try to do an extra kill step in there, and we thought, okay, this will work. So we rushed this like small production run, another couple pallets, and to get it to me in time for this Dragon's Den pitch. It arrives like 2 weeks before, so early August it arrives. I'm scheduled like August 27th or something to pitch on Dragon's Den, and the product that they just made has already gone bad.
Oh no!
So I'm freaking out a little bit, and I'm like, well, what do I do? Like, I don't even have product that I can give them for samples. So this is, you get a little scrappy. So I had them send me, I emptied out a bunch of bottles, mixed, like in Toronto, I'm doing this. So I brought all the stuff with me to do this the day before. So I brought all the ingredients with me. I empty bottles. I got them to ship me the caps that they use with the pre-sealed thing on it, so it didn't look like anybody tampered with it. And I'm literally in the Airbnb the day before Dragon's Den, and I'm mixing all the things, popping the lids on them, and I throw them in the fridge, and I drop them off the next morning. And anyway, that was fine. It was good. We cooled them, I guess. But so I dropped off the thing the day before to CBC Studios. They put them in the fridge for the night. And then the next morning, I think it was a Tuesday, 9 a.m. was my call time. I go there and I go through the whole, what you do when you're filming a show. So that whole experience was pretty cool. Basically, I'm standing in like the green room sort of area for 2 hours. They assign you a producer who checks in every 30 minutes to see how you're doing. You go over your pitch a few times. So what I guess people might not know is the first 30 seconds of your appearance on Dragon's Den is entirely scripted. So that's the thing that you have to vet through your producer. I actually wanted to drop a swear word in there, and she said that I couldn't. That's okay. But that's the kind of thing you go through. So first 60 seconds is scripted. So you walk down the end of the hallway, the door's open, you walk through just like you see on the show. There's this X on the floor where you go hit your mark and go into your 60-second pitch. And did that. And then the next, I don't know, could have been 20 minutes, could have been 45, but it was all kind of a blur. They're, firing the questions at you. That part is like what you see on the show. Yeah. And so I get to the end, and somehow I'd come out of there with a deal with Manjeet Minhas for $100,000 for 25% of the company. And I'm thinking, this is amazing. This is life-changing. I get out of the studios. I'm walking back to my Airbnb. I call my wife. I'm like, this is incredible. And then the other part of what they don't tell you about Dragon's Den is it is just a show. And it's like step one in like talking to a new investor. And so over the next few months post the show, I have a couple conversations with Manjeet. I send her all the due diligence information. Yeah. And come like December, my segment didn't end up airing. So only about a third of the people that go and film there don't end up on television. Right. So the end of the season is approaching. I get the notice from the producer that, no, next week's schedule is up. You're not on it, so your segment's not going to air. I get a note from Manjeet later that day saying, we're not going to move forward with this. We wish you luck. If you'd like, I'm happy to have a few conversations as an advisor with you. But that was it. So really, yeah.
So that's it. That's it.
That's it.
That's unfortunate.
But she still sounded like she was still willing to give you a couple of words of advice if you needed it.
Yeah. So over the next few months, we exchanged we exchanged a few emails over the next few months, and it was helpful. So one of the things that I had still been trying to figure, and this is another thing that might be useful for those creating new stuff. So of course I had this problem that's still percolating in the background of I can't sustainably produce a product that doesn't expire before it gets here. And so I can't go visit the facility. I just don't really know any other facilities. They're out there, but I just don't know them yet. And so I hire a consultant down in Florida that's located within a few hours of the place. Engage him. I don't know, it was like $8,000 or $10,000 for him to reformulate so that it's more robust. Go visit the facility and make sure things are kosher at the facility. And so in December, early December, we had scheduled another run because I'm like, just in case the show does air, I need product. And so let's try to like rush this whole product development through and get it there. And so early December, we do the production run, same quality problem. It's like the problem is in the facility, and I'm talking to the consultant, and after the fact, he's expressing all these concerns about, well, the mixing tank didn't look like, it was very clean and all these things. I'm like, Larry, the guy's name was Larry. Larry, like, these are the things I paid you money to go look. Like, that's, so this is going to work. None of this is going to work.
Eyes and ears, dude. Eyes and ears. Like, what?
Larry, this is what
like $10,000 buys me eyes and ears. Like, good Lord. Like, what the?
Yeah.
Okay.
So trust only goes so far when they, like when someone executes well and does a good job, like the trust, but starting with trust and assuming without verifying, it can be a little bit problematic.
Yeah.
So anyway, now we're at the end of 2020, early 2021. I've got no big Dragon's Den investor. I've got no product. I've got no formula, no co-packer, no nothing. So basically back to the drawing board, which some advice from Manjeet was helpful in this regard. She pointed me to the actual like flavor houses. So Bell Flavors is where we get all our stuff from. Fantastic to work with. Amazing. Like, wish I'd known that before. There are so many of those wish you'd known that before things, but a lot of them you just don't even know that you need to know, right, until you know it, which I'm sure you guys see all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you don't know. It's hard, right? Like, really, you don't know what you don't know. Like,
I also think the assumptions you make aren't, what you did was not abnormal. I think at the end of the day, if you go through, let's say you're looking for a co-packer and you see co-packer that can do bottling and canning, what do you assume? That they can do bottling and canning.
That's right. Yep.
Well, why would I assume any different? Why would I, like, what do you mean I have to check what? They're in business. If they put shit in a can or a bottle, that's what they do for a living. I mean, I don't understand what we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be thinking, well, if someone phoned you for a civil engineering consult, what would I expect you to be able to do? Whatever civil engineering people do. That's what, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you should, it's the trust and verify is so critical in this industry, and really doing what Manjeet probably taught you is you ask a lot of questions. There's so many people that can direct you to different things because you don't know what you don't know.
That's right. The big thing for me has been like, find somebody who's literally done almost, if not the identical thing to you before, because even slight variations can like make a huge difference. So I will have another example of this coming up as we go through the narrative here, but just for my own memory, I'll try to go chronologically. So early 2021, we're kind of past that period, and now I'm into I need a new place to make it. It's got to be local so that I can go visit the facility. And so serendipitously, a company who had been in business the last few years doing mobile canning for craft beer, which is now at the time a kind of burgeoning category. They were looking to expand and to do other non-alcoholic beverages. They were co-located in the city that I lived in. Cans are better for the environment, so it made sense to switch from plastic bottle to can. And so I started working with this company in summer of 2021. Fairly quickly with, the flavor house and these guys, we get up and running. And in early September 2021, we produced the first batch of what is still the same original coconut flavor that we sell right now. And of course, with them, growing pains, we both kind of were trying to figure it as we went, which I think can work really well, at least for a period of time. And that's what we did. So over about 6 months, we kind of grew together. We'd have we'd have to troubleshoot batches, right? Like, this one worked out well. It was all good. This one had, yeast contamination in it. So what happened there? Okay, well, we should add a filter step here. Like, you really need to get that hands-on when it comes to doing something that someone's not familiar with. So we go through there, we add a couple new flavors in early 2022. And I would say 2022 was a great year. So we go from essentially like zero in 2021, just starting it up again. And in the first 8 months, I think, probably hit close to $100,000. We got into Sobeys local program. We're still selling with 30% online direct consumer. Things are working really well. And then 2023 was the year of me not focusing on the right things and not knowing to ask the right questions as we grow with the right people. So what I mean by that is we were doing regional business in Atlantic Canada 2022 and early 2023. That business was with one distribution partner who initially it was working really well with. They were a hands-on distributor that would kind of also like do the merchandising. You know, they would like take the order, like really active distributor, and we were both doing really well at that. So I kind of took my eye off the ball of our regional business that we're doing here and tried to focus on, okay, we got to get into Ontario. We got to get more doors, you know, the classic, we need to spread out wider sort of thing. Mm-hmm. We need to produce larger batches so I can get my cost of goods down. So the co-packer that I'd kind of done that first into growth with, they weren't HACCP certified. Like if I wanted to get in places like Costco or, you know, Loblaws, like I needed a facility that had the appropriate safety considerations. So found another one, still fairly close, another few hours away, state-of-the-art facility. They were getting the same thing like craft beverage industry, but you know, more of a mass scale and also looking for non-alcoholic partners. So we did a few small test batches, which seemed to go okay. And then in early 2023, we do like the big ones, the truckload size batches. Shelf life's like 18 months, you know, it's tunnel pasteurized. So I'm like, let's do it all. We'll get the cost per, you know, goods sold down as much as possible. I've got my warehouse rented, like I could fit it all. And then we'll go into this assault on Ontario and the rest of wherever I can reach to sell the product. We get on board with an Ontario distributor in mid 2023. In September 2023, I get calls from my distributor, some retailers, that some of the cans are leaking on the shelf. I thought, okay, well, that's kind of odd, but you know, okay, maybe it was weird, like a defect thing. And so spent the next few months trying to figure that out. What it ends up being is there was a parameter called dissolved oxygen. And if that parameter gets too high, so if there's too many oxygen particles in the beverage, it can cause the inside of the can to corrode. And you get these pinhole leaks in the can. We're also using shrink sleeve labels, which are like, you know, thermoplastic shrink sleeves. Yeah. So they go around the outside. So these little pinholes were developing because of the high dissolved oxygen content. The label was like acting like a wrapper to kind of keep that in. So it wasn't until 3, 4, 5, 6 months that this problem started presenting itself. Jesus. Which means now I've got all this product that's like out on shelves. I've got it sitting in, you know, distributor warehouse in Ontario. It's on store shelves in Ontario.
Oh no!
It started to leak.
It started to leak. So it was like 1 in 12 is where it would start. But the problem is like the outside of the can, like the bottom of the can, is not coated. So the inside of the can has a liner in it. So if you have a beverage that has a pH of less than 7, which is for like every beverage out there, then you need the inside coated. Otherwise, aluminum would rust, like it would corrode, like it. Okay. And so the bottom of cans is not treated with this liner. So if you have one leaking can in a case or in a pallet, that will leak and cause all the other cans to leak because it'll start from the outside rather than the inside. So like the outside of the cases, the pallets that I have in the warehouse all looked fine, but then I'd like start diving in and go a couple cases deep and I'd see, okay, there was one, and then everything underneath that corroded. Everything
basically. Ginormous puddles.
Yeah, well, not even ginormous. It's just like it's that subtle, right? That it's just, you know, and it would like absorb up into the cardboard because it's such a slow thing because the shrink sleeve is keeping it together. Anyway, it was this very slow revealing problem that basically meant $50,000 or so of inventory was stuff that I had sitting I couldn't sell anymore, or I had to go pull off of shelves.
Right.
So.
Well, but slow moving, like, because I think to appreciate the problem it's one of these things where you start pulling and then you realize how many
Like, how long did it take you to figure this thing out? It must have taken a while to kind of go, like, I get it, it's leaking, so I gotta look, but how long did it take you to actually figure out all of these bits?
Well, it was about, so from the time the problem presented itself, which
Yeah.
again was like 4 months after we made it, right? So things had been selling, no problem, all is good, until like it's discovered. And then it's like, okay, that's weird. Like maybe it's just a
Isolated.
defect, a one-off, like,
Yeah.
because even like I start pulling from the containers I have, and it's like every other case might have one that's leaking. So I'm like, okay, maybe what, like, when these like batch fill, like if it's like 12 in a row, like maybe the 12th cylinder wasn't filing properly. So okay.
Yeah.
So it was about 2 months, September to November 2023. In November, it's like, okay, I've consulted with enough experts. Like we pulled the data from like all of the production runs. And that, like, that's one thing I can stress is your co-packer, make sure that they are collecting like all the data. And if they don't know what data to collect, either they're not the right co-packer, or go ask someone who is collecting data and tell them that this is the information you need. Because we're able to pinpoint. It's like the threshold, like safe threshold is under 1,000 parts per billion generally. Like under 500, you're free and clear for sure. But like we were seeing, it was like 1,600, 2,400, one was 4,000. And like that's just, it's going to inevitably, if it hasn't leaked yet, it probably will, because this is a characteristic. So anyway, moral of the story, had to go through the, getting all of the product that was out there out, disposing of all of the inventory that I had. Fortunately, and this is one thing that I can say that has been practical in business, is it never really pays to get mad, particularly when you're working close with people. Being nice is always better, and trying to work through things together will always get you further ahead than, butting heads. And so, like, I'd still work with the co-packer. We've worked through it in a solution that's kind of get us all to the other side. If we both succeed, we both succeed. So that part has been amazing. I mean, it's taken like a year and a lot of, it's been tough, right? So, yeah, so we're back on, like, from then till now, we've kind of replaced the inventory that we have to sell. We're back on track with kind of getting into stores. I mean, we lost a whole lot of listings, I think, because of that.
For sure.
The other thing to compound this, so you remember this wonderful distributor that I onboarded with regionally, and we were doing amazing sales. And over the course of 2023, because I was focusing on this other problem, like, didn't really pay attention to how things were going there. And things had started to slow down dramatically, both from amount we were shipping over to them and the time it took to get paid. And so earlier this year, started to have the frank conversations of, okay, now that we've got like this really burning platform issue of the production side of things taken care of, like, I got to fix the other things that are going on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't too long that, I guess maybe March, April, I kind of made the decision that I don't know what's going on over there at the distributor, but like, it's not working and I need to take better control. Like, I'm here, I'm local, like I can ship the product, I can whatever, but like this, something's not working and I don't know what it is. So in May, started the process to take over all of distribution in Atlantic Canada, just ourselves. So now I ship out via courier to all the Sobeys locations, all their independents. I mean, the margins basically work out the same when you can negotiate good rates and have minimum, orders to fulfill, like even with your little bit of overhead you have to add on to there. Mm-hmm. So start this in May, fully transition by second week in June. Third week in June, an email comes out from the distributor that they're ceasing operations. So I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense now. If things were heading downhill in that trajectory and I'm sensing them, then, it's probably good. I should have done this sooner, I guess. When your spidey sense starts tingling about things aren't going well in a particular area, usually the right and the faster that you act on them, probably the better. So
it's just tough, right? Because you're, like, it's like, I guess I think we all fall in those areas. You start moving and then you think, okay, I've got this settled, I'm good. Let's go, because there's only one of you, right? So it's like, I'm gonna fix this, I'm gonna go, and then it's like, before you can get to the other thing, there's 8 different things that pop up along the way, right? So all of those. Oh gosh, wow.
Yeah, and
Plus,
and
you're not
that
from
thing
the
you just
industry.
fixed isn't like you haven't. So like I'm a problem solver. I solve interesting problems as like my career and like my life. And but each of these things, it's not a problem to be solved. It's like a machine to set up and continuously operate and make sure it's operating properly.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't think people understand that part of it, right? It's all the moving parts that just, it's not one thing. It spins like literally out of control quickly. I'm trying to go back
Yeah.
and figure out, like, I guess I'm trying to figure out, not for anything. I'm not trying to pick on the co-packer or anybody, because this is a problem that many will walk into, and it doesn't have to be a leaking can. It could be whatever, right? Is like, I guess in hindsight, because 2020 is always, the clearest vision, is, a food scientist might have been able to tell us about this oxygen shit that corrodes cans, I guess. Like, I guess what I'm trying to understand is, like,
Sort
where,
of, but only if you knew it was a
but I guess
problem.
that's what I'm getting at. Like, where do you go? Like, how do you,
Kenny,
like, what
I could
could you
tell
have
you
done
the
to
answer.
mitigate?
I could tell you the answer to your question, and it's you have to talk to as many other producers as you can that have done
Yes,
as
so,
close
right.
to or the same thing that you've done before.
Yeah,
And like even like when you go to a co-packer, they could be like very mature in their operations, like do however many hundred thousands of cases or whatever a year or in the past year. But if your process is even slightly different than
right.
something
They
that
just
they've
haven't
done
done
before,
you right.
then they don't know, right? So like this isn't a problem for carbonated beverages. So I was the first or one of the first non-carbonated beverages that went through their
Right.
production line. So if your beverage is carbonated, like the oxygen gets consumed by the carbonation and it's never a
Right.
problem. Like, or I shouldn't say it's never a problem, but that's a mitigating factor in these instances.
Right.
So like just because they never really had that as a problem before. However, if I go talk to other people in the industry, like it took me, I don't know how many people, like when I'm talking about the problem, I mean, I had to go through like a half dozen experts until I got to somebody who was like, "Oh, that's dissolved oxygen. That's what happens when your
That's the
levels
part.
are
That's the
elevated."
part I'm
Right?
getting at. Brody, is that one guy looks you thinking, "Well, idiot, it's the oxygen." You're thinking, "What?"
That's right. And then like I go back to the last 5 people who are experts that I asked that, and I'm like, "Look, see, he's calling me an idiot. That makes you by proxy."
Yeah, we got a collection of idiots here, apparently, which again is not fair, because you don't know. I guess I'm always, because especially in food, this is because your problem or your challenges that you've had or fixing are not abnormal per se, right? What you do at home, you make shit, we mix stuff, we eat it right away. What goes wrong? Well, nothing, because there's no time. Nothing's happened over 3 months. You know what I mean? You don't wait that long to see how things evolve. Like, how long is a shelf life? How long before this oxygen issue becomes a problem or whatever? But you make a lot of assumptions as the founders that whoever we go to, in theory, knows all this, which clearly they don't. And that's not a knock on the co-packer. If you've never done a non-carbonated, and that is something that happens with non-carbonated, I mean, how do you know what you don't know, I guess? Doesn't necessarily help
that's
you,
right.
that woman.
No, it's true. And I mean, even like there are food safety consultants and experts out there, and like, they'll know maybe 80% of what you're going to need to know. Like they're good at here's your like here's the process that should be set up. You need a kill step. Okay, every food safety person can probably tell you that. Well,
Yeah.
the method that you do and how many pasteurization units or whatever, maybe that's something to calculate, maybe not. Maybe you have to experiment with that. But another thing that I could have done better was I just went too big too quick with the production, trying to get the
Right.
costs and I hear this and see this from other founders all the time where it's, well, I ordered 50,000 because, I got like half of the unit price got cut by 50%. Versus if you'd paid double and only ordered 1,000, you wouldn't be out this, like I don't know how many labels I've had to get rid of because I ordered so many because it was a bulk,
Yeah.
discount price. And then, we got to make a label change because Health Canada did this or whatever. And
Right.
it's like, those 50,000 labels, I'm sure they'll make nice, I don't know, home for a raccoon somewhere.
Well, and I think what we try to usually tell people is what I would tell people is get a quote on the smallest, get a quote on the largest. Ultimately price on the largest, but don't do it. You might have to work on little tighter margins at the beginning, because if it's not going to work, why, you know what I mean? Like everybody wants to bet on success, because why would you do anything without the aspiration of succeeding? But
yeah,
to sink in $100,000 to get to the cogs that you want to get to, well, maybe, you know what? Maybe you just don't worry about that at the beginning. Run really lean. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Or do you know what I'm getting at? Like, you got to take baby steps, right?
I think that's partially true. I think get the small price, get the big price, but set your price to the big price. I tried a bit of that, and the problem that you run into there is you're probably going to be stuck at the smaller one for a lot longer than you anticipate. And
Probably.
So if you're losing money at your pricing, like the whole journey along there's no way you're ever going to get to the big one. So
well, potentially, right? But I guess the challenge is you can get to the big one right away by doing the ordering, and now you have a whole other problem that you got logistics issues, you got storage issues, you got the fact they may not sell. To your point, Health Canada changes the rule. You end up with oxidizing. I mean, there's a million other things. I mean, it's trying to just find the balance or somewhere in that mess.
Yeah. What one soundbite I like is that I learned the hard way is, in thinking about your growth steps, because they usually end up being like some incremental step
right.
Things are like linearly ramping. It's your next production run has to be a discrete number of units, and let's hit the next price point. So in your next growth step, try to make it not so big that if everything fails, you go out of business.
Right.
So like that is the one that almost happened to me, is swung too big, like literally. And had I not been able to like have a great relationship with the co-packer and kind of come out the other side of that, like that probably would have been it.
Yeah, that kills it, right?
So all these lessons learned, parlaying into next steps, and as ever, the perpetual optimist that us entrepreneurs are. Here's where 2025 is headed, which I'm like super excited about, even after getting kicked in the face so many times over these years. I'm still excited, and here's the reason. One is got the whole production thing fixed, so we can focus, not on that and on sales, focusing specifically on Atlantic Canada this year. Ontario tried and failed. Like even after we had, got brought on a new broker. We tried to get new accounts this past year, and the market, it's taken me this long to get to this point, and now the market is saturated and it's a crowded category. So the aisles at Costco are full of better for you energy drinks.
Right.
Natural food places already have alternatives. I could tell them I'm slightly better. Doesn't matter. They have something on the shelf already. So it's kind of like, all right, let's not throw bad money after good in the whole pursuit of external. I know we do sales here in Atlantic Canada. We've got some, decent brand recognition now. So from a sales perspective, focus like going much deeper here
Good.
than wider. So that's kind of one pillar for 2025. The other is got to expand to higher margin products. So I kind of put blinders on for the first couple of years to say, like, I need this to either work or not, so that I can like make a decision to keep it going or not. And now we're at a point where I see other opportunities in delivering the same experience but in a different format. So the two that I'll be exploring in 2025, first will be energy shots. So these are 90 milliliters or less, which ironically Health Canada allows you to put more caffeine in one of these tiny shots than in a giant can that I sell. But hey, as long as I follow the rules, whatever. So energy shots. So we found a co-packer for that. The first samples should either arrive today or tomorrow. I'm really excited to try those. So this will be if you think about how we're delivering the same amount of caffeine as a giant can, except it's in a small thing, has room to freeze, it's lighter to ship. So direct to consumer with a new format that's, this similar use case, but much higher margin, easier to ship. The second will be the powdered. So drink crystals that you would mix together. Again, both of these higher margin endeavors, much lower minimum order quantities. So really excited to do both of those this year.
And what does that market look like? It's because it's the shots. Wasn't it 24-hour energy? I'm going back like 20 years when I listed stuff.
Yeah, 5-hour energy. Yeah.
5-hour energy. Sorry, I knew it was some hours. Somebody had energy for a while.
Yeah, so it's in the US, it's $1 billion segment. So energy drinks in general is 10 billion in the US. Energy shots are 1 billion. So it's like a order of magnitude smaller market, but still $1 billion market. And 5-hour energy is like 88% of that market.
They must be all of it practically.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
I figured that. Okay.
So I'm having the flavor house actually mixed with organic ingredients.
Nice.
So then we'll be like, I don't know the first, but an organic energy shot, clean caffeine. By the way, Here's a question I got for you guys. I don't know anything about the organic certification process. Is that something you're familiar with?
Give me the question you're asking.
Yeah. What?
Okay. So here's where I'm at with this product. It's got like 5 ingredients in it.
Yeah.
Water doesn't count because
the
organic
it's by nature organic.
So to be able to be certified or classified or called organic, 95% of your product or more needs to be organic. So basically the other 4 ingredients are certified organic.
Right.
So the final product is going to be organic, all organic, or organic enough to be called organic. But I don't know if I have to like get a consultant to look at that and check it off, or I kind of don't know how that part of the process works.
Because I thought like the some of the ingredients is not the same as each componentry being organic. Like I don't it seems absurd, but like the if each of the parts are organic and you put them together, I don't think that makes you organic. Like there's another process for that, I thought. Right, Kenny? I that's what I think.
Something like that, and it's also like water always throws the wrench of everything, right? Because by nature, water is organic, so it's
so water you take out of the water.
You take the water out, and then it's the other component. And I didn't think 95 was a threshold. It could be. I don't. Well, you know what? I've got somebody if you need somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good. And then we don't need to. Just thought I'd get free consulting here offhand while I asked you. So
Well, I'll tell you what you do though. Put the question down on an email, like dead serious, and I'll rifle it off to somebody, and we'll get the answer.
Oh, that's awesome. Appreciate that.
Right, let's try that because I have the same issues like with the stuff that we do. Is on a couple things, the majority of the ingredient is organic, right? But our facility that we were using was not certified organic. Like they didn't have the ability to get us the because that has to play into it too. It's not just your ingredients that count; it's the facility you make it in. Also has to be allowed to be organic, whatever the hell that means. Package organic.
Your guy that you're thinking of might be a good person to have on your podcast here because it's like I've asked the question to a number of people and places, and usually I get kind of generic answers. Like there's what the Organic Canada website posts, and you can sort of read that, but like it's hard to understand the specifics, and even like I talked to CFIA, and I just sort of get. We don't provide advice, refer to the website sort of thing. And so then I talked to a consultant and the consultant's like, it's going to cost you however many thousands of dollars. And I'm like, something's not connecting here. My engineer brain's like, if all this is organic, then this, but anyway, so I'm sure it's a whole, it is a whole industry in itself. So diving deep into that would be quite interesting.
I'll see if I can find it. I do remember, because I remember looking for you, Kenny, like at one point I looked and it wasn't.
It's the reading of it though. You know what?
Yeah,
you can
but the
read
ingredients,
all day.
The sum of the parts doesn't make the whole of it organic. No. Like there's still a process involved or a certification involved. Is what I thought, but I don't remember enough to
just enough to be dangerous, really. So,
What I think that's the problem with most of us. We all have this. We all have these little bits that make sense,
yeah,
but it's the compounding. Because to your point, go to Health Canada. They're not going to tell you squat. They'll make you read it. You interpret the way you feel, and then who knows what Health Canada interprets later? Because the rules can change at any time, right? Because it depends. It's really, mitigation of litigation is what what that role is. Because if we tell you it's like an engineer. I mean, when you ask an engineer, like, is this legit or not? Sign off on the damn thing so that I got somebody to go after and give shit to when it goes sideways, because that's why I paid you. You're my expert. But it's trying to find those people that are willing to, scribble out. Put the question on paper. I'll send it to somebody. He'll send it to somebody. We'll get, in theory, an answer.
Hey, I will take the theoretical answer. That sounds good. And since you will have written it back to me, I will then point all litigation back to Kenny after the fact. So,
I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to read it on a voicemail that I will delete or encrypt or something. I'll have to figure that out.
Oh, this is where I get a package in the mail, and this will self-destruct within 30 seconds, and it'll tell me everything I need to know, and then the thing will go up in flames.
And that's it. And then, where'd you get that from? I don't know. There's no proof. I didn't.
I don't know, but
it.
now my house is on fire.
Yeah, who's this Brody guy? I don't know who he is. Never talked to him.
Sounds like
this was all AI.
So this is kind of exciting. So you're going to do this thing, and then you're going to go after these shots. So 2025 will be about
cool play.
And profitability, which I really like.
I love talking profitability too. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's
kind of why we do this, right?
What's your so is I guess I'm curious, right? Because like with this, is your target market who you thought it would be? Like along the way, have you found any moments where you kind of go, oh, it's not who I imagined, or is it kind of who you thought it would be?
I think so. Who I originally targeted for were people like me, like working professionals, office workers. So that has, I think, turned out to be true. The other archetype that is predominant is like high performing fitness people. So powerlifters, ultimate frisbee players, like high performing athletes use it either for pre-workout or while they're competing. So that was one that I kind of underestimated as a target. And then like you get anyone that consumes an energy drink, like there's some subset. So gamers. We had one. This was pretty cool. We had one guy who really liked the product, didn't want any money or free product, just wanted the ability to put our logo on his race car in his esports team so that he could like look legit when he's, and this is, one of the high level like esports, the people running the NASCAR thing. And I was like, of course, yes. Yeah. Slap my logo anywhere you want to. Yeah. So yeah, gamers, esports,
that's cool.
College students, of course. I think our best customer is a college student here in Fredericton. I've like seen him go through his, 3.5 years of university here. Because still to this day, if there's an order convenient for me to drop off locally, I'll like drop it off. So I've been to this guy's house, 50 times in the last 4 years.
Wow, that's fantastic.
You could see it being that group, though. I mean, we lived on caffeine pills. We're going back 40 years. There wasn't no energy drinks. Like this market just didn't exist.
You either actually chewed on coffee beans, you had a caffeine pill, or you drank a
caffeine pill coffee.
Like a shit ton of coffee.
Well, we had nothing else. We didn't have energy drinks. When I graduated university in '89. There was no category. That's caffeine pills.
That's what's so fascinating about like the whole Red Bull thing. So it's late 90s, Red Bull explodes. And of course, Monster follows suit quickly. And they're the two biggest energy drink companies for 2 decades. And literally the product hasn't changed, nor has the brand changed, even though like those customers they served 20 years ago, we've all aged by 20 years. We're still here. And a lot of us are still consuming those products, but they're not for us anymore. And so, it's amazing that it took this long, I guess, for the category to respond to that need.
It's amazing. I love this. I love this a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay. So we're kind of running out of time, but I actually don't know where the time went. Like that kind of went really quick, I feel like. So if people want to buy your stuff, where do they find it?
So if you're in Ontario, we're in about 20 stores there. Natural Food Pantry in Ottawa,
Okay.
Ambrosia stores in the GTA.
Mhm.
You can go on our website, workwaterenergy.com. There's a
Okay.
store locator there. And also we sell online. So workwaterenergy.com, shipped direct to consumer.
Okay.
Um,
And then the Maritimes? What about in the Maritimes?
Yeah, we're in I'll say 2/3 of the Sobeys locations and Sobeys banner. So in
Okay.
Foodland or Co-op, you'll likely find us. Simply for Life locations there. But yeah, best is the go online, workwaterenergy.com. There's a store locator there. You can find the one nearest you. And yeah, pick it up. Reach out to us on socials at Workwater on TikTok, at Workwater Energy on Instagram and Facebook.
It's awesome.
Cool. And for you, young man, if you if you do go down the path where the shots are coming or anything cool, just ping us, because we can always do a quick 15-minute or throw it on YouTube, give you some exposure. Plus, I'm just more curious. I love to see where you're. I like the journey part. I like to see what you're doing or whatever, right?
No, I appreciate that.
Just bring it. Throw us the questions. If we can help find the answer for you, and on the free, which would even be better, then don't be scared to do that too, right?
No, I appreciate that. I'll send you guys some of the product once we get it produced. Love to know your thoughts. I'm pretty excited about it. I think this is going to be a big unlock for potential. So
no, I think it's cool. Good on you, man. It's a tough. It's not for the faint of heart. We tell it all the time. So I just love when people, if you can stay excited, because you get your kicks, eh? Like you take a beating in this industry, and it's good if you just
it is a beating.
It really is, right?
We didn't even get into the whole like manufactured chargebacks, all that stuff with like that whole. You try to get in Ontario, I won't get into it now because we're at the end. But suffice to say that I shipped 2 pallets of product to my Ontario distributor, and I still owe them money.
Yeah,
there you go.
Welcome to retail.
Unpack that another time, but yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah,
we'll find you another time in the spring, because I think
I'd love to.
Yeah, because I think I'd like to get into that. I think our guys would definitely benefit from that conversation.
Yeah,
so we'll come find you again in the spring.
Awesome, sounds good. 2025 part 2. Looking forward to it.
I love it.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Brody.
Thanks guys. It's been fun.
Happy holidays.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you too.
Bye, Brody.
Merry Christmas.
Bye. You too.
Ciao.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
It's cool. You know what? It's because, and what I like about it, first off, he's super honest, which is really cool. It's funny how many times, we've done a billion podcasts and talked to like a trillion people, I feel sometimes. And the underlying issues are always the same. I mean, the circumstance might be a little different, you know what I mean? But it's always the same shit, right? And it's hard. I feel for him. It's a tough one.
It's just tough because really you don't know what you don't know, right? So even like, let's say you were talking to somebody else, and you go, like, you're talking about it. How would you know to talk about oxygen in the can, right?
Well,
like,
I guess
it's not.
I guess what I would assume, Phil, though, I would have, and this is not. I'm not picking on the co-packer because they're a carbonated beverage person, so they wouldn't know either necessarily. I guess we all make the same things. You make the assumption that the person you're going with, because they do it, knows it, but you got to really make sure they understand. Do they do what you're doing? Which is what he learned, and I learned when talking to him now. I just assumed the bottle guy would have known. Well, but if the bottle guy's only doing a specific set, that person's probably the expert on that side, and they would do the same thing you and I would do. Well, if it goes in a can, it goes in a can. What's the difference?
Yeah.
I wouldn't, why would you know that? Well, the carbonation, because I guess that's the carbon dioxide or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, I mean, how do I know that shit? Like, well, I didn't know this was, first off, I didn't even know aluminum rusted per se. I mean, I know it oxidizes, but you know what I mean? I wouldn't be going down those paths. But again, maybe that's the part you really got to be cautious with as entrepreneurs. It's the assumptions that kill you.
Yeah. Craziness.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that was really fun, and that went really quick. Like I kind of looked up and went,
I know, it's like
we're at
there
our
was an
hour.
hour. What the hell happened?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wow, craziness. All right, thanks for listening.
I gotta pop off. Thanks for listening, everybody.